the Evolution Security Podcast. We're honored to have Keeper's Concealment as a sponsor of the show. If you have a modern appendix carry holster, it was probably influenced by their original keeper. So you owe it to yourself to check out what they have to offer for your EDC needs. Also, Spencer Keepers is a top-notch trainer. I've taken his AIWB skills class and highly recommend it. Go to keepersconcealment.com where you can buy a holster, sign up for one of his excellent classes, or inquire about hosting him in your town. For any Keeper's Concealment products, use Evo Twins at checkout for 10% off. Also, Keeper's Concealment is a proud affiliate of CCW Safe. They offer proven legal defense coverage if you had to defend yourself against a lethal threat. Go to keepersconcealment.com/CCW-safe to find coverage that meets your needs. All right, thanks for joining us here on the Evolution Security Podcast, and that's short, EvoSec. Now, I'm here with my best friend, my brother, Eric Davis. You know, Eric, we were talking about this earlier, what a blessing it is to have this show. The amazing guests that we have, the amazing friends we've made, and just how we're constantly learning through this process. I'm just so glad I get to do it with you, buddy.
Man, I am too. We are blessed. We really are blessed. And you know, again, we talk about pinching ourselves about how we just envisioned this a few years ago, and it's just blown up. So we are blessed for certain. We'd like to welcome a very special guest who we have intended to have on for a long time, and that is Aimee Langdon of Langdon Tactical Technologies. Welcome to the show, Aimee.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. It's nice to meet you both.
Good to meet you virtually as well. You know, we told your husband a while back, we've had Ernest on twice, I think it is.
Yep.
We're like, we need to have Aimee on and talk about her tactical games, and we're like, well, yeah, let's do that immediately. And then next thing we know, it's months and months. So we're very pumped to have you on.
Well, I appreciate you guys inviting me to be on your show.
Well, Aimee, one of the biggest reasons we wanted you on, as we mentioned, we like to highlight, you know, folks in the tactical community that do, you know, unique things. And also, this is something that Aaron and I have been trying to do. We want to highlight our lady friends a lot more. And so I think it's just a perfect symbiotic combination to have you talk about the tactical games. I want to tell the audience, you've done pretty well in the tactical games. You've had 3 regional championships, Texas, Phoenix, and Kansas. And last year you placed second at nationals by 0.02%. That is crazy.
That's correct.
So, which I would say,
was pretty crazy.
So I would say that's so significant. Statistically insignificant. Man, I just think you won it. I'm just saying. It's so close.
It was so close. It was fun, and there's a couple different divisions in the tactical games, and so I've been competing in the women's elite division, which is the heavier weights and the
crazier things that we have to do. Oh yeah, I was going to ask you real quick what the difference was. So it's heavier, it's heavier volume weight, correct? And is it also a stipulation on the firearms, or is it background related to, or?
Yeah, there's a lot that goes into it. I mean, the tactical games in general, as an event and as a program, is combining fitness and shooting, right? So it's combining the balance of your fitness, endurance, and strength, and ability to perform under duress, with then your marksmanship and shooting with a rifle and a pistol. So they have the divisions split up where they've got their elite divisions, which are the heavier weights, smaller targets, potentially longer distances. Definitely depends on the event. And then they've got, different setups of intermediate. They've got tactical, which is going to be more of like the law enforcement and the military people that are competing and ready to go back to work today, challenge themselves, but not kill themselves.
Yeah.
With weight where they can't, they can't function the next day. And then they've got the master's divisions of 40 plus and 50 plus for men.
Oh, right on. Well, very cool. We certainly want to talk a lot more and get even some more details on that. But before we go too much further, would you please tell our audience a little bit more about yourself?
Yep. So I'm Aimee Langdon. I am the vice president of Langdon Tactical Technology. So Ernest Langdon, my husband, who you guys were talking about earlier, started this company several years ago. And then it kind of went away. It went on pause. And then we restarted it here in 2016. And we've been building it up. We do custom firearm work. And then Ernest does some training. And then we have parts and accessories. Then we also launched a educational platform called LTT Discover.
Nice.
Which is primarily based around helping people that are looking to get into firearms but are not super interested in the tactical aspect of it. Ironic that we're talking about the tactical games.
Sure.
And I'm kind of a big face and proponent of the non-tactical world, if you will, when it comes to firearms. But through all the different things that we've experienced collectively as a universe over the last several years, we've seen a lot more people, here in the U.S. want to take their own safety and self-defense and personal safety. What's the word I'm looking for? We've seen more people want to bring their own personal safety and home defense into their own hands. But firearms are very intimidating. And it's not just women who are intimidated by it. It's men that are intimidated by it. It's everyday people who, when they go look for information, it's very, you have to do this. And if you don't do it this way, you can't do it at all.
Yep.
And so we just try to, back up a little bit and bring a more realistic, hey, you got to do what's right for you and what's comfortable for you. And we're here to help you guide. We're here to help guide you through that process. So that's what LTT Discover is. So,
well, Aimee, if
we've
I
put
can
together several different things.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to step on you there.
No, you're fine.
If I can add to it, in almost, I don't know if you put a percentage on it, 90% of the time, the information that's being pushed on the people probably isn't accurate information in many cases. So I love seeing what you guys are doing at LTT Discover. So that's awesome. So
thank you.
So where are you originally from, if you don't mind us asking?
I'm kind of a mutt. I was born in Minnesota. I spent about half my life in Texas and then half my life in Minnesota. And then now we're in Arizona.
Do you guys like it there in Arizona?
Oh, we love it here.
I like Arizona.
We love it here. The 115-degree heat in the summer gets to be a bit much, but we really enjoy it here.
Yeah, Arizona. I have a lot of fondness for Arizona. Arizona is where my first DCQC was with Craig Douglas, and it's also where Craig. Yeah, he's a great dude, and that's where Cecil Birch is one of our other instructors and good friends, and Chris LaPrey. All those guys are
I
just
know those guys real well.
awesome. Yeah, so they're very good friends. Well, cool, awesome. Well, certainly, Aimee, we're going to get more into the tactical games and a little more about your training here. What you got, Aaron?
Well, I think this would be a good time to go ahead and ask what it does take to get into the tactical games for your as at a personal level, and what you have to do to prepare. What it takes to get involved, and I mean, just you obviously have to train a lot, but a lot of people probably have no idea exactly what that entails. And I think Eric might have a follow-up question, but
Sure. So, I mean, to get into the tactical games, if you're interested in it, you just got to say, hey, I want to do this. Find a division and a location that works for you and get signed up and go. From a preparation standpoint, there's obviously you need to know how to safely run and operate a rifle. You need to know how to run and operate your firearm or a pistol. And then you need to, have all of the accoutrements that are required, i.e., a gun belt and mag pouches and a weighted vest. And then you just got to say, hey, I'm going to do this and commit to it and go. They have 1-day skirmishes for people that want to try it. They're not ready to commit a whole weekend to competition. And then they've got their competitions, which span over 2 days.
Well, very cool. Well, one of the things that I'm curious about, and we didn't talk about this earlier, but you're a CrossFit coach, correct?
I used to be a CrossFit coach. Yes, I had a CrossFit time in my life where I was doing CrossFit as that was my fitness choice, if you will. And then I was coaching for a while at a CrossFit gym, and then when we moved here, I started coaching at a bigger gym that was more encompassing of CrossFit moves, but also everyday people that were not ready to commit to CrossFit, but we're still wanting to come in and have a coach-led class.
Well,
I don't do CrossFit anymore.
Oh, okay. So you don't do CrossFit anymore. I got you. I think that's what I wanted to hit on. So obviously the tactical games have lifting movements, probably Olympic lifting movements a lot in a lot of cases, correct, or something similar to it.
You cut out. Can you repeat the question?
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you hear me right
No,
now?
that's okay. I can.
So regarding some of the lifting, is it Olympic lifting type movements similar to CrossFit?
Yes, it incorporates some of the CrossFit moves. So, your standard deadlift, a clean, a punch overhead, strongman movement with yoke, where you've got weight on the four corners. You've got your sandbag movements, body going over the yoke or under the yoke, box jumps, stuff like that. That is kind of CrossFit, and then lifting incorporated, where knowing the technique and being able to perform the movement is advantageous, but it's not, you're not doing snatches and throwing 150 pounds over your head or anything like that. It's not like a static bench press move or a static back squat.
Well, to me, that sounds, however, that it's still good for in your normal training to be doing a lot of those movements and increasing your strength levels above the normal so that you can do a lot of those tasks, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. I do a lot of strength training. So I have a whole strength training program. I've got a strength training coach, Varg Freeborn, and he runs a company called CTS Method. And so he does all of my strength training programming. And I pretty much committed to putting on some muscle about 2 years ago and have been very committed to his program. And then adding in, different endurance workout and performance. So yes, some of the workout styles are, what we all now know as CrossFit style, But a lot of the strength training that I do, where I will have some of those heavy lifts and I will push to get heavy, a lot of it will be supplemental muscle development, of developing all those small muscles in your body to support the big muscles so that you've got the ability to move the weight.
Nice. Well, this may come off to some as a controversial question because it's this big debate within the fitness community about LSD cardio, or long sustained duration, however folks term it. Like we're talking, your aerobic threshold range, doing an hour and a half worth of cardio as being supportive for some of these activities. Being Aaron and I are in jiu-jitsu, it's something real important to us, and also I'm very much into lifting as well. Olympic lifts and strength movements. But I've come to realize that LSD cardio does help me for a lot of things, and I just wanted to know your honest opinion. Is that something that you put forth some time into, and do you feel that helps you with the tactical games type movements, or is that not your bag?
No, of course. Definitely does. I was a baton twirler my whole life. And so I was a competitive baton twirler, and I twirled at the University of Minnesota in college. So marching band endurance, like performing, being on your feet and on for a very long time was kind of my bread and butter where I was at. When I was done with that, I did marathon running, and I ran a couple different marathons. I ran some half marathons. So from an endurance, a cardio position of, that long effort, I think that there is a place for that in training. I do it, but I don't do it every single day. I think that there's a balance with everything. You have to have a balance into what you're doing, and the people that scream and yell, well, this is the only thing that works. That's because that's what they like to do, and that's what has worked for them. And so I'm a big believer in balance and, structuring your program, following a program, and then changing it up. You can't, it's not super sustainable to lift heavy all the time. Or, if you just do jujitsu and you're not working on, strength training and muscle development, there's not always that trade-off of strength there for you, right? But if that's what you enjoy doing, then do it. It's all, I think a lot of it is, what do you enjoy doing and what makes you feel good and what gives you confidence in your training, because that's what's going to help you want to keep training and making yourself better from that health and fitness perspective. So I didn't really answer your question, because
it's perfect.
I believe in it. Yeah. I do it, but I don't think everybody has to do it if they don't want to. I think for tactical games, it's very helpful. Because on an endurance piece, it's going to really help you. But if you haven't done a lot of strength training, then the strength piece is going to kick your butt.
Yeah.
Right. So, depending on the type of training, depends on that.
One of my thought processes about LSD cardio, sometimes it's nearly like recovery. It's almost like an active recovery if I'm, keeping my heart rate somewhere 120, 130. And
at steady state cardio position.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so to me, that's sometimes when I know my body's beat up from a lot of mat work, or if I've lifted heavy, the cardio is kind of like an active recovery for me too. But yeah.
Well, there's a lot of studies out there that if you push your heart rate too high, right, and you get out of that steady state zone based on the type of training that you're doing, then you're not augmenting your training, you're hurting your training, because your muscles you're not treating your body right.
Yeah.
Your muscles aren't going to respond to what it is. So I'm a big proponent of people finding a good coach that can help guide them, right? But also listening to your own body.
Yeah.
And
very, very good.
What is working for you and what isn't.
Well, I have to ask you this because this is a fun subject for me. I love my home gym. Do you guys also have a home gym? It sounds like you also go to a gym with a coach, but you guys also have a home gym as well?
Yeah, we do have a home gym. My coach is actually based in Florida. We're out here in
cool.
Arizona. So I have been to Florida to train to him. He's been out here to train with all of us, and we do a lot of video and FaceTime coaching. And then we've got some other coaches here that do some supplemental stuff with us. But we have a home gym, and we use it frequently.
Yeah, I love my home gym. That was I was deployed to Iraq in a couple times. I'm trying to remember when this was, 2016, and I'm like, I'm making this extra money over here. I'm going to invest in a home gym, and luckily I did that because when COVID hit, you couldn't get any gym equipment. And so
Yeah.
that 2016 I went on Rogue and started buying stuff. and and what's funny is, I mean, of course it came to the house, had to go somewhere, and my wife, she's like, "My gosh, all this heavy stuff for like 2 or 3 months, some of this stuff sitting in the living room." It's pretty funny. But she was
We've outfitted ours over several years, but there are fantastic programs out there that don't require a lot of equipment either. Like, I don't know if you guys have heard of street parking, but Miranda Alcaraz and her husband, Julian Alcaraz, they started a uh, program. It's called Street Parking, and it's $19 a month. And they have everything from strength training, ollie lifting, endurance. They've got dirty work, which will be like sled work and sandbags, and they've got even just body weight stuff, and for everybody from 8 years old to 78 years old.
awesome.
And you don't need a lot of equipment for people that are just looking to get into starting to train and get fit. But I'm with you. I am one of those people that we started hodgepodging stuff together as hand-me-downs, and now we've got a full setup.
Awesome. I tell people sometimes that are just wanting to get started, I tell them, get a pull-up bar, get a couple of kettlebells, like maybe a 35 and a 44 pounder, or however strong a person is, maybe that'll dictate that, and some space. I mean, there's so much you can do with just those two implements in your body. I think it's like you said, just get with the program and get on it.
Well, when COVID hit, I had some clients that were just going to Home Depot and Lowe's, and they were just buying the cinder blocks.
Yeah.
And they were using the cinder blocks, putting gloves on. They were using cinder blocks as kettlebell swings. They were using them as, dumbbells, because you couldn't find anything. Loading up a backpack and just wrecking with what you have plenty of stuff around your house. Put it in your backpack. Start wrecking.
Absolutely. In 2020, I was deployed again, and I first started in Kuwait and then moved up to Iraq. But in Kuwait, they shut the gym. All the gyms were shut down throughout theater. But there at Kuwait, we started calling it the prison gym. They had several pull-up bar areas, and threw a bunch of, like you said, cinder blocks. I mean, there were pipes laying around, and dip bars, and people made some sleds that you could pull or push. And
Yep.
man, I got wrecked at that gym multiple times. So yeah, cool. Let's talk about our sponsor, Tenacor. Tenacor continues to innovate with pressure test, purpose-driven carry solutions, from holsters to mag pouches to carry and duty belts. Their new Zero underbelt builds on the high-performing Zero belt, adding loop Velcro to the outside, making it the perfect platform to support your duty belt, competition belt, or if you simply want a reinforced carry belt. This is the ultimate solution. If you're interested in picking up one, visit tenacor.com. Let's talk about an awesome training opportunity. We are super pumped to be hosting John Murphy of FPF Training for his Street Encounters, Skills, and Tactics class the 5th and 6th of November 2022, just outside Fort Bragg, North Carolina. This class will teach life-saving material to include Stop the Bleed Medical, pre-encounter management, pre-assault, proper pepper spray use and deployment, essential shooting skills, scenario-based decision-making, post-fight, and more. For tickets, go to our show notes and find the class link, or go to John's website, fpftraining.com, and look for the class in his course calendar. Come train with us. I bet you Aaron's ready to talk a little bit of firearms stuff, Prep. What do you think, Aaron?
What I would like to do is kind of just keep on the tactical games, but let's get into some nitty gritty of what a typical stage is like. You know, maybe some typical stages, and then maybe talk about a couple of pretty intense ones that will never leave your mind.
It's fresh coming off of the Kansas games this weekend. So the stages vary. They've got, if it's a 2-day event, they typically have 4 events on the first day and then 4 on the second day. And they'll run, 3 stages each day with what they call aggregates. And as of late, they've been running it where one of the aggregates is a quick shooting aggregate. So it'll be, marksmanship and reloads of rifle and pistol and movement. Reloading on the move with both your rifle and your pistol, and switching platforms, and shooting the IDPA head box and then the center body target. And that's typically like a shooting aggregate. And then the next day they'll run a fitness aggregate, where, like in Kansas, it was you have 90 seconds to complete as many sandbags over a box with a burpee. So basically, you had to do a burpee on the sandbag, hand release burpee on the sandbag, put the sandbag over the box, go up and over the box, drop back down, sandbag, hand release burpee, sandbag up and over the box. And it was for points for those movements in 90 seconds. And then, like, the shooting aggregate was, they called it 5, 10, 10, 5. And you started with your rifle and you shot, there were 3 targets, and it was, 2 shots to the head, move 5 yards, 2 shots to the head with a reload in between, move 10 yards, reload, 2 shots to the head, go to your pistol, 2 shots to the body, reload while you move, 2 shots to the body, reload while you move, 2 shots to the body. And it's for time and misses. So those are the aggregates. And then in terms of the stages, those vary. They typically have, 1 or 2 long movements where you've got a workout that is going to take, anywhere from 12 to 24, 30 minutes, depending on what it is.
Blown away.
And then
I'm blown away by that.
And then they'll have, the other stages are typically shorter. They'll be anywhere from like an 8 to 12 minute time cap event. So for example, like one of the longer movement events that we did in Phoenix last year it was for points. So every shot that you got in the target was a point. Every run that you did was a point. Every sled drag that you did was a point. And basically the first 12 minutes of the workout was on the call go. You had to run it was like a 200-meter lap, pick up farmer's carry handles, take them with weight on them, take them down to the shooting box, do your firing sequence with rifle and then pistol, bring the farmer's carry handle back, go for a run, come back, and you'd repeat that through 3 or 4 firing sequences for up to 12 minutes. And then you immediately transitioned to a second effort for points, and it was 12 straight minutes of picking up the Husafel or the Husafel, however you say it, depending on where you live in the country, the Husafel stone, and then you carry it down to the yoke, up and over the yoke, pick it up, carry it down, turn around, come back, and we just repeated that for 12 minutes. And so you've got an option to go ham and just get as many points as possible. Or you can take your time and go about on that particular stage that I will never forget. My gun, I was shooting reloads that Ernest reloaded, so I can blame him for it. But my gun on the third firing sequence, my pistol, the extractor blew.
Oh no.
So my gun was done. I was done. Like my pistol was
And this
out of
was in
battery.
Kansas?
And no, this was in Phoenix
Okay.
last year. So I had to finish. I finished the event, but all of those pistol shots were missed opportunities because my pistol was out of battery. I couldn't use it. And then I had to go ham on the workout to make up for those points.
I was going to say, but you still won. So you had to ham on the.
I did, and then I got rhabdo. I had rhabdo in my arms. About 3 days after the event, I couldn't even pick up a cup of coffee. It was, oh my gosh, it was so bad. But that's okay. It was fun. I still had a good time, and I went back and I did more. So there you go.
Well, Aimee, go ahead, Aaron.
I just wanted to say, so what it sounds like to me is you put, some DevGru SEALs in one of these competitions. They go, man, I want a break. I want to go back to buds.
Excuse me.
Probably not. It's funny. It's interesting that you bring that up because it's called the tactical games, and there's a lot of people in the tactical community that are not super supportive of it, and they're like, well, it's not super tactical or whatever, right? And there's nothing is ever perfect in the vision of how people want to look at it, but there's a layer of a sport, of any sport, that has to be repeatable over multiple divisions, and it has to be repeatable in a day so that multiple people can perform and be a part of the event. And one of the things that I think the tactical games has done a great job of as they've evolved and grown and learned is that they've created events that are challenging and that push people to become proficient with their firearm, pistol and rifle, to become proficient in, close distance shooting and long distance shooting, but also pushing you to be, your best self athletically, combining endurance and strength for longevity of movements, but also, strength and power for short movements. And so I think they've done a really good job evolving it to make it applicable and repeatable, so that they can move, 160 athletes or so over 2 days through the event, but also, paying attention to the safety concerns of those that are less familiar with firearms but are still coming to compete, and really trying to manage that process as well.
Well, my response to them, and that's very common, especially, lots of detractors from IDPA, for instance. These are competitions where people are getting, like you said, proficient at some things like shooting, like fitness, just overall well-being in your life. And there's no, it's just, okay, what do you want to do? A tactical game. Let's set one up where it's team movements through shoot houses. Is that good enough? And usually when someone says that stuff, it's like, okay, maybe it's not that tactical, but it'd be awesome to get together and, come down and have you compete with us. It'll be a lot of fun and see how they do.
Yeah. No, but it's true. But it's one of those things where I think it's no different than anything else you do in your life. Everybody has their own interests and things that they enjoy doing. And the things that help them build confidence or that drive people to want to do something better. Right? So, from my perspective, I saw the tactical games come out as a thing, and I was like, ooh, now this is something I could get behind. Because Ernest was like, oh, you should shoot competition, you should do this. And I was like, I don't want to shoot competition. I have no desire to stand around and shoot steel and shoot paper. No, thank you. Not my thing. And now it's funny because here I am shooting competitions. And he reminds me about it all the time. But, I love fitness, and that's as much as a personal outlet for me from endorphins and stress and sanity and whatever else you want to call it, that I enjoy doing and practicing. But then also from the firearms familiarity perspective is one, I carry and have home defense firearms. So becoming more proficient with those and practicing that is helpful. But my ego definitely got in the way when I went to compete for my first time, and I didn't realize it until I had a conversation with Rob Hott earlier this year. But I, for years now, have sit and listened to people be like, "Oh, you're just Ernest Langdon's wife, and you just stand around and do things." And I'm like, "No, I run the company. Like, I work every day more than he does." Like, I'm in the business every single day working with our team and our staff, and he is as well. Right? I'm not saying that he's not, but I'm like, no, I'm actually working on and in the business. But then they'd be like, "Oh, well, you've never competed and you don't know what you're talking about." And the number of guys, and this is very common for women in the industry, um, the number of guys that call and they're like, and a female answers the phone, they'll be like, "Hi, can I talk to somebody who knows what they're talking about?" I mean, no shit. It is a straight up an answer. Christy Watson, another competitor in the tactical games, we joke about it every time we see each other. So I'm like, "Hey, can I talk to somebody who knows what they're talking about?" Right? Because she's been working for Maxim Defense for forever. And it's just, it was crazy. And then people would be like, "Oh, well, you don't know what you're talking about." And they'd be so disrespectful. And then the minute Ernst would get on the phone, he'd say the same thing. Or another guy, one of my other, team members would get on the phone and say the exact same thing. And they'd be like, "Oh, well, thank you, sir. I appreciate that."
Well,
I
Aimee,
mean,
can I add something to that? And this is a major pet peeve of mine and Aaron's in the industry of firearms and tactical and this path that we're on is men can be just such a pain in the ass about stuff like that. And it's not all of them, and it's getting better. But it's one of the things that I don't know what it does. It's an ego thing in most cases. I mean, somebody else possibly having a skill set that you don't have bothers people's egos, and it comes out more in the firearms community than any other realm. I'm not sure why, but yeah, I'm sure that's annoying, and you deserve better for certain.
but it was one of those things that it definitely got to me personally. And I didn't realize it as I didn't, I mean, I knew that it did, right? But then when I was executing and performing and putting in the work and the effort, and people were like, "Ooh, I don't want to talk to her. She's scary." It was funny. But it was like, "Oh, wait, I can do this and I can talk about this. And I do know what I'm talking about because I did go put myself out there and I did become vulnerable to take classes and go learn from other people and go compete so that I could be better in the business and for myself." And so, I think there's just an evolution that happens for people, and I didn't realize that was a driver for me, but it was, after those two events and after nationals and placing well at nationals, I was like, "Okay, I'm not an idiot." And so it was, I don't know. Now I'm doing it for fun, and we're getting our team involved and supporting other people, and it's a great community, and
Well, I
fun.
have one more comment on that too. And this is in all things that we do that, there's things that, so guitar, music, our shooting, our jujitsu, anything that you're striving and you're around a group of people that they are striving to their level too. Back to that issue with these gentlemen saying, assuming you didn't know what you're talking about, that, I'm sorry, but is a measure of that person's intelligence. What I mean by that sounds awfully mean, but they don't have it in their brain to question if they really know what they really know, right? And just assuming that you don't know what you're talking about, that's out of their realm of possibility and concern. And that it's full Dunning-Kruger effect. So that stuff does irritate me a lot, because a prime example, now I don't want to digress too much, but a few years ago, I was explaining to a guy that was a gun guy, right? He bought a bunch of guns, that a 223 cartridge is actually safer indoors than most pistol rounds. Now, I'm not talking about armor piercing or barrier blind rounds, but he just, that's impossible. Well, look at the ballistics. You see, he didn't have it in his mind that there was even a possibility that he didn't know something, right? I know I feel like I'm going off on a tangent, but that's a prime example. Often when I explain people that one simple thing, they look at me like I'm crazy.
It's these and these
There you go.
that have made people more empowered to not have a social interaction with other people, because it's really easy to sit behind a keyboard and fire off,
Yep.
shitty comments or whatever. And then you have to have a conversation and it's already on the defensive. And I mean, I am somebody who, somebody said to me the other day, you don't come to a fight without receipts, or you don't come to the table without receipts. I can't remember what he said. And it's true, I don't. But the interesting thing is that I think the antisocial piece that happened, and the forcing people away, encouraged some people to just not interact and just immediately be angry.
Yep.
Of like, well, if something went wrong, it was intentional, and you intentionally tried to hurt me, and you intentionally tried to, do me wrong, and shame on you and your shitty customer service and your crappy gunsmiths and whatever. And it's like, they're calling me Karen, or one of my operations manager Karen, or whatever. Like, you get to a point where you're so beat down that you eventually don't take it seriously. But it ceases to amaze me, the immediate drop of like, you tried to screw me and shame on you, and you don't know what you're talking about, you're going to do me right attitude that just comes out so fast from people.
And you've noticed an uptick on this. You've noticed an uptick on this since the COVID isolations, and also obviously the proliferation of our screens and phones and whatnot.
Yeah, I think people I don't know if you guys have watched The Social Dilemma on Netflix.
No.
Yet or not. If you haven't, watch it. Dilemma. It is almost scary. But the amount of control that our phones and our screens have over us is nauseating. And I think going through 2020 and, the political differentiation that happened of like, well, if you voted for Trump, then you hate the world. And if you voted for, whatever it was, it's just the assumption that, because you approve of one piece of something, you agree with everything. It just made people angry, and it created a bigger divide. And the reality is, if you sit, you listen to people, and you actually have a conversation about everything, right? Not just politically, anything. It can be about the best shoes to wear running or the best gun for, your everyday carry. Like, if you just listen to people, everybody has their own rhyme or reason, and it's based on what feels right to them, or an event that happened to them, or whatever they're more confident in using, depending on the topic. And I think that just this separation of social interaction that doesn't involve a screen or your fingers has made people just very angry.
Yeah,
I don't know
there's no
why.
question, Aimee, that it is a societal concern, a real concern, and I think I can. There was one thing that we were talking about discussing the tactical games that I think it can tie into this and or tie into even some of the tactical folks' attitude towards, say, the tactical games, or in Aaron's example, IDPA. There's an example that I thought of, and I've seen in some of the things that you've said, and or what's espoused through your business, is being uncomfortable with things. And one of our axioms that we talk about all the time is that mindset's not a verb. That's coming from Craig. You may have heard him say that before.
Oh yeah.
And it's how do we develop mindset, and it's through doing hard things. And I'm sitting there thinking, if some of the tactical folks, which bless their hearts, we are free because of the young warriors out there. But I think, man, the tactical games is an awesome opportunity to do tough physical tasks and to shoot at the same time. So, and again, being uncomfortable. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, get comfortable being uncomfortable. And what is it that you're training for? Right? If you're training with your firearms and you want to know how to be able to shoot your firearm under duress and under body stress, the tactical games is a great
Yeah.
opportunity to do that, because your adrenaline is not only risen, your heart rate is risen, your nerves are risen. Now, is it comparable to if you were in a real life shooting situation? I don't know. Probably not. Maybe it is. There are things that are probably comparable there, but at the end of the day, it's a great place to, practice your performance under stress. And, the body responds to nerves and everything differently.
Oh yeah, having that
And so
novel
I think
stress. Yep, novel stress
yeah,
is
I
huge.
think it's fantastic.
Anything that we do that gets us more subconscious ability with our firearms, that's tactical to me, right? Because we tactical is decision making, right? We're running guns as part of the tactical situation, but we need to be able to run especially pistols, right? Pistols are not easy to run. And IDPA for me has been one of the best ways to help people get proficient at manipulating their guns in other words, climbing the learning curve quicker. It's just so that's where I go back to. Yeah, it's not the tactical side of actually going through military tactics or whatever, but a lot of them probably haven't been so ingrained with subconscious work like a lot of high-end competitors. Just my opinion or understanding.
Well,
Yeah,
and
and I
also,
oh
go ahead, Aimee.
no, go
I
ahead.
keep trying to step on both you
No,
guys.
you're good. Go ahead.
Well, one example I wanted to make sure that I brought up, if it means anything to you. So I'm a civilian now, no longer in the military, but still do things as a civilian, and I'm stationed at Fort Bragg, so it's the home of Special Forces, and I always like to brag about the fact that, man, on my street alone, I've got a hell of a neighborhood security team here because it's I've got, I'm not going to name specifics, but I've got several Special Forces soldiers on my street, and one of them is a ODA commander, and he and his wife do the tactical games. And incidentally, I'll say this real quick, is they invited me out one day with a couple of their friends, and they were prepping for the tactical games. So especially his wife, she's a soldier as well. and so I mean it was CrossFit and shooting throughout the day, and it was a blast. I had a lot of fun, but I do have one funny story. As I had tweaked my back like two weeks before, and so there were certain movements that I wasn't comfortable with, and one of them was they had brought out a 60-pound medicine ball that we were doing some of the movements with, and so instead of doing some of the movements, we're picking it off the ground and worried about tweaking my back more. I got double the kettlebell, had two 53-pound kettlebells that we were running around a point that was designated. So I got to do twice as many of those because I couldn't do the medicine ball. It got to the point where, and I'm, decent pistol shooter. I had no grip and I could not, from 10 yards, hit a silhouette. It was the most embarrassing thing.
It does. Your muscle fatigue kicks in fast with weight, but it's also nerves and adrenaline. I mean, just the way that your body responds to that. And, if you're under a lot of weight for a long time, where's that lactic acid buildup going in your body, and how's it affecting everything else?
And running with those kettlebells, it was all the lactic acid was in my forearms. But anyway, what I was trying to, the point I was making is you got an SF team leader. He believes in the application of tactical games. So I think that's just
that's a good
cool
point.
story.
That's
and
cool.
His wife did really well. I think she won at least a local match.
Good for her. That's awesome.
I'll shoot this episode over to them. They'll enjoy it.
I know, it's fantastic. It's fun, and I'm a firm believer in promoting effort and putting forth effort to make yourself better, right? And obviously, on the company side, it's with the firearms. On the personal side, it's fitness. And part of LTT Discover is combining those two things, and then tactical games fits into that because it's very much helping reframe your brain, right? What's your mindset? What's your expression? And what's your approach? And if you're committing to the tactical games, you decide, hey, I want to do something that's going to challenge me. Well, now you've got the mindset, you've got the expression, you got to put in the work. And then what's your approach? How are you going to approach this? And what is it, right? You're not just going to do a bunch of sandbag carries, a bunch of kettlebell carries. You gotta do a lot of things to be able to perform and execute. And, getting comfortable being uncomfortable is challenging yourself.
That is a life axiom that if people figured that out, man, how much better lives that they would carry. And a lot of people are discovering that, because of, again, mediums like this. And, I'm hoping that I'm seeing that, at least anecdotally, that folks are figuring that out, but we'll see. Time will tell.
I think the bigger the firearms community gets and the more people that adopt it, the industry is having to adjust the language and the way that we approach it. And, tactical has been so known as, military and law enforcement, and, tactical team versus the actual meaning of tactical or practical or, hey, just build confidence, right? There's so many layers to it. And I think just getting out of our own way as an industry, to be more accepting and inviting and helpful makes everybody better.
Absolutely. Well said. Very well said.
Well, Aimee, I think this might be a fun time to talk a little gear. We don't know how much of a gear person you are, but first off, it'd be cool for someone that works for one of the premier firearms custom shops. You don't get a Beretta line of pistols for no reason. So just a great company. The like you said, even the accessories you guys offer. But it would just be neat.
And now the Glocks that you guys are doing.
We got Glocks, we got HKs, we're doing Hellcats. We're doing
Yeah, I want to
shotguns.
talk about that here in a second, but being from that lineage of such a great company, what is your EDC, if you don't mind saying?
So my everyday carry is either a Springfield Hellcat or a Glock 43X right now. It started with the Beretta PX4 compact carry. As my training and shooting evolved of being on the range more and shooting more, I got comfortable with the smaller, snappier gun, and I find that those are easier for me to carry. I do not live a dangerous life. I'm not super tactical. You won't find me in tactical pants. You won't find me in button-down plaid shirts. I'm a regular Joe. So
we avoid those too.
yeah, right. So I find that a smaller gun works for me. It's snappier, but I think that some of the strength that I've been able to build up makes me confident with those platforms. In terms of my tactical games gun, I shoot a Wilson Combat EDC, a EDC 9, the X9. So
Jealous.
I love that. Yeah. And it is different, right? It's something different that I could shoot and learn behind, and I really liked it. Mandy Bachman actually let me shoot her gun for 2 days, and I was like, yeah, I want that one. So
I think Ernest told us a little bit about that story the last time. I may be remembering
I think he
incorrectly,
did,
but I think
but it's coming back as you say that, Aimee.
yeah,
Well, then
there was a Mr. Bill.
awesome.
Could I shoot this? And then my rifle is a ballistic agency rifle. I'm sorry, a ballistic advantage rifle. I shoot a ballistic advantage rifle. And then I wear a high-speed gear belt with taco pouches. I love my belt.
Taco pouches. I've been seeing those. They look pretty cool.
I love them until I have to do a burpee workout and then my mags fly out. But if I don't have to do a burpee workout, they're great. And I like the belt because I can move it. Like I don't wear tactical pants, so the belt is movable for me. So if I have to slide down a hill or I have to, run with my rifle, I can adjust my belt so that I'm not getting bruised.
So do you just run it over your shorts or something like that?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yep, I use a rubber pad. Depending on the event, I will, I may wear an inner belt with a pair of yoga pants that has belt loops in it. But for the most part, I stay, it's tight, but I stay relatively flexible just so that I can adjust it based on what the movement is. Like this last games had 145-pound farmer's carry in each hand.
What did you say? Can you repeat that?
You heard me. It was 145-pound farmer's carry in each hand.
Wow. That's legit.
It was stupid. Got it done. But with the taco pouches, the flexibility of those, and then also, the belt moving for me, it works for me because I can get my arms in between so that I'm as close as I can to leverage my traps in my back, while I'm holding that heavy weight. So when it comes to tactical things, I'm big on those three things.
Now, and this is always something important. What kind of sling do you run?
Oh my gosh! So I had the one. I think it's called like One Slingshot. It's the slinky one. I stole it, aka he gave it to me. But Victor Lopez from Sierra Element out in California, we went out there to train with him, and I was just running a VTAC sling, and he's like, "Oh, have you ever tried this?" And I tried it, and I loved it. It was great. But then right before this tactical games, Ernest had me running a Vortex optic, a 1-10 optic, which I did not love. Going back to my old one, but that little bit of added weight with that sling, the bungee sling, didn't work for me. It was pulling in when it was almost like it was fighting against me. So I went back to my VTAC sling.
So then that brings up Another question: what kind of optic do you use usually?
So I'm going to go back to a LVPO, just a 1-4. That's what's on my rifle. The women's elite, they have to shoot irons for pistol. So I just run a red fiber optic front. I actually shoot irons better than I shoot a red dot, but I also have an astigmatism, so I think that's why.
Well, Aaron, if I can interject one question on the gear, because it's important for us as instructors to learn from our lady friends. We just had Annette Evans on, and we always like to ask the ladies what they prefer to carry concealed with.
So I'm a big fan of the Enigma from
That's what
Philster.
Annette likes.
Yeah,
Yep.
I know she loves that. I was one of the OG when Jules was making these holsters. I was one of the OG kind of Enigma people, and I loved it because I live in gym shorts and yoga pants, and it makes carrying so much easier. So they just have to have a little bit baggier, racerback tank. We're here in Arizona. It's hot, and putting on multiple layers and undershirts and all that stuff, not a big fan. But if I'm wearing belt loops, if I'm wearing, jean shorts or pants, then I use a tier 1 concealed holster. And I think it doesn't have a sidecar. I can't remember the exact name, but I have a tier 1 concealed holster that I run, and I just flip flop between both depending on my outfit, so that the gun doesn't have to dress me. I can get dressed and then make the gun work for my outfit of choice.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, maybe we need to stop the dress around the gun kind of thing.
Yeah, Aaron, I think, I can't remember who it was recently. One of our mentors, I think, is starting to get on to folks for using that phrase. I forget who, not get on to them, but just trying to use a different phrase. So yeah, we'll just borrow Amy's explanation. That's good.
Well, there's a place, and Tessa from Arm Style, but I don't know if you've ever had her on your show. She'd be a fantastic person to have on. She is so intelligent and knowledgeable from self-experience and learning and teaching. But one of the conversations that, we always get into is if you, especially for women, and I know it's different, but primarily for women, a lot of women put emphasis on how they dress and what they wear and what they want to wear. And there's layers of confidence that come from their choice of clothing. And so, one of the things that Ernest told me very early on when he wanted me to, get comfortable start carrying, he's like, well, you have to change your wardrobe and you have to change this, you have to change that. And all I heard was change. And while I'm a big proponent of change, all the stuff he was suggesting that I needed to wear, I was like, you've lost your damn mind. I'm not wearing that. No.
Hey, Amy, did you start hearing like the Peanuts teacher, wah, 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 wah?
No, I just looked at him. I'd be like, you have lost your damn mind. Absolutely not. And so it was almost like a defiant stand my ground, like, then I'm not carrying. I mean, it inhibited so much. And it's funny because as we've grown all this and he's, we've talked to more people and he's learned and understood, like, am I a proponent of purse carry? I'm not. But are there times where there's a gun in my bag? And am I acting different with that bag? Yep, there are. And it is what it is. And sometimes is my gun in my car while I'm driving and not on me? Yep. I mean, it is very situationally dependent for me. And I have become confident in the choices that I am making, right? And right, wrong, or indifferent depends on who you talk to and what you want. But I think that making it work for you, if you're going to choose firearms, is first and foremost what will make people smarter about being confident in their everyday carry.
Well, the more rigid, and I've surely been this way with my wife, right? the more rigid we are about, okay, I mean, for me, I carry everywhere. I feel guilty if the only time I have it off in public is when I go to jiu-jitsu and I lock it in a safe in my car. But if I'm rigid about that and make someone feel guilty for not doing that, it really is. It's that Dunning-Kruger effect that I'm being, guilty of. I need to
Yeah, it hurts our cause too if we're that way.
Yeah, so it's funny, and I liked hearing it from Spencer Keepers. We had him on a couple of episodes ago, and he said something real interesting, and I liked hearing it from someone like him that is fairly rigid in what he does. He said, "Well, if a lady all she can have is I forget what pistol it was, but it was a Kel-Tec in a bra holster. If that's what she can carry, then more power to." I know, but again, sometimes I have a friend that is a nurse. And there happened to be and I've gotten more information about this lately. There was a gentleman who had back surgery, and recovery was not going well for him. He went to the hospital where my friend works and killed that surgeon that did his surgery.
That's right. I remember that now.
And very close to where my friend works within that hospital. And she said, "Okay, I'm not going unarmed anymore." And I'm glad to say, and I've been recommending it a lot too. I recommended that she get the Enigma too, and she loves it. Perfect.
Yeah, John, Sarah, and Tessa have done a great job really trying to educate their customers and other people on how the Enigma can work with you instead of against you in any situation. And I think for a lot of people, it's a very easy transition, right? It's awkward. There's nothing comfortable about carrying every day. If somebody says, "Oh, it's comfortable," like, yep, it's become part of your routine. You're used to it. But there's nothing comfortable about a Kydex holster poking into your, innards. It's just,
this is sitting on my desk because I've been carrying it all day.
Right. No, and it's true. I mean, it just, you get to a point where it's like, okay, I'm wrong.
This is my current carry sitting next to me, and I normally am always carrying.
But sometimes you do have to just. Sometimes if I've spent a lot of time on the show, or I've just got back from shooting, or I've been carrying that all day, sometimes I put it in my room. It's like, okay, if I need it, I'm going to jog to my bedroom, It's just like
there's just a real life application, right? The reality is we will never be prepared for everything that comes in front of us, but we can do our best to be prepared for what we want to be prepared for, right? And that, I mean, not just in firearms and anything.
Yeah.
And so I think, just finding balance and a realistic approach to all of it, all of the firearms, right? Tactical or not tactical, however you want to refer to it as, just find balance, find what it is you want to do. And then if you're enjoying it or you want to challenge yourself to be better, then find something to execute on that way.
Well, so
awesome.
We also need to get into some jovial stuff here, but I do want to say this. So us being Glock fans, we were real excited when you guys started offering Glocks. And man, sometimes I just go to your guys' site and drool over stuff on there. So and no joke, I have put together my wish list of a Gen 5 19 with one of the laser grip jobs. And you guys have so many of those now. It's hard to choose. I'm going to have to ask you.
Well, somebody to reach out to.
What's that?
Somebody.
Yes, I do.
To reach out to.
I'm going to ask you guys which one I need, because I need a pretty rough grip. But that's another. When we get to this point, I'll chat with you about it. But then, of course, I need an
Sounds
optic
good.
cut because of my eyes, and then a trigger job. So I at least want all those things, and I'll be doing that pretty soon. So, yeah, that's people need to take a look at what you guys have there, and you're expanding beyond Glock, beyond Beretta. And Ernest explained that during COVID that there were some issues with supply chain from Italy getting your Berettas in. It's like, hey, we need to offer some more add to our lines here. So I mean, and then you guys have the new. You guys have started doing the striker control device. I bought another one of those from you guys recently, and I'll tell you, Eric and I push people to buy the foundation belts from you guys all the time.
Yeah, that EDC belt, I use that as an everyday belt if I have my tier 1 holster. It's really comfortable, even for women.
Awesome. But yeah, so
Cool.
and
It's excellent
it's
belt.
interesting too. I don't want to go off on Ernest too much, but is he still carrying he was saying he was carrying a 48 for a while. Is he still doing that?
That's a good question. No. Well, he switches, and I've never known him to switch, but he's switching. He lately has been carrying the HKP 30. So one of the things that he has always done prior to us adding brands as we brand diversify is carry and test. Everything for, everyday carry to range to training. And, it's as much learning about the gun, the comfort of the gun, and what we're doing to it or what we're changing on it. How does it affect how the gun feels as part of that everyday carry, all the way through, how's the gun perform when you go to the range after it's been sweat on and, moved around, and, what's in it, what gets caught, what are potential hangups that need to be addressed. So lately it's been the P30, although, it's one of two. And
Well, don't worry.
the whole time that we've been together, it's always been just one. And now he'll be like, oh yeah, he's got, his PX4. And I'm like, where'd the PX4 come from? Now it's been in the state for forever. And so I think it's all a testament of when you know what you've got, and if you have options, he's finding what works for him and what's comfortable and what he wants for what he's doing.
Well, you guys have, like I said, an incredible company, and we love having you on here, and this has been a really fun conversation, a blast.
Absolutely.
You're a hoot for sure. So,
Thank you.
and so, Eric, I've been talking a lot. So I think I'm going to pass the most important question of the show on to you. Now, Aimee, this may take you by surprise. I meant to warn you about it, but we didn't. Since you maybe haven't listened to our show much, this might be a surprise, but it's the most important question on the show, Eric, and I'm going to let you take it, buddy.
Well, Aimee, what I will add is, yes, it's a blast having you on here. I think it's real important for us, as Aaron and I are new in the teaching realm. Let me say this correctly. We've been teaching people for years. I've been teaching martial arts for years, but really in the last 3 years have we been involved in teaching firearms more. And I think it's real important that men get a better understanding from our lady friends. And I think it's awesome the amount of wisdom that we can gain from you. So I really, really appreciate you coming on the show, and I would hope that at some point we could have you back on.
Oh, thank you for having me. I appreciate that.
Well, so now to the most important question of the show. This is Aaron's phrase. It's not as important. I mean, I'm kidding. I'm messing with my brother. Of course, it is very important. Is what are your 3 most favorite bands or musicians
Really? You would do that to me?
Yes.
Oh my gosh. I love music, and I listen to everything from dirty rap to hip
Dirty
hop
rap,
to
like gangster
country
rap.
to whatever. I have a
Well, you
special place in my heart for OAR. I
Oh,
really
yeah.
like OAR. They're like my chill. Aimee needs to take a chill pill and relax. If I'm working out, I I don't even want to tell you.
hey, we're honest on this
I
show.
listen to
Come on.
some. I know, right? Gosh, it's embarrassing. I have crazy playlists.
No, the most embarrassing music is the most
Oh no, I
interesting.
can't. I
She
know,
can't.
right? I
You
can't.
can't?
I've got a guys. I've got a reputation to hold here.
Okay.
Can't. No, okay. OAR. I love them. I love like Jason Derulo, Pitbull. If I'm working out, I just need some hype up, like get excited and move. And then country, I would say right now, like Luke Bryan and Jason Aldean.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I like those
If I'm
guys.
angry, I want some like angry.
Pantera.
Who sings Bodies? Like with the bodies at the floor.
Oh, that's a Drowning Pool.
Yeah, Drowning Pool or like some Skill Rex or
So when Aimee comes
Angry.
to the shop with when the bodies hit the floor cranking up, you better look out.
Yeah, shit's about to hit the fan.
You know, I saw them in Iraq. They came over and played in 05.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It was a small, just like a few small stands, and I don't even think they even had maybe a small stage. Pretty much just playing on the ground with, not ground, you know what I mean. But yeah, it was fun. Talk about, I mean, when you're overseas and you're, being cooped up. Yeah, that was cool.
Experience with Dave Matthews Band. I was at Ernest and I met at a company that we sold robots for. And so I used to always go to the SWAT and tactical like narcotics conferences. And I'd been on the road for like 12 days and they had a party get together one night. And I was like, I just don't even want to see anybody. So I went to this hole in the wall sushi joint, in Little Rock, Arkansas.
Ooh, I love
and
sushi.
I love sushi. And I was sitting there, I took my computer, I was talking to my best friend, just sitting at the bar in the corner, like drinking water. I just wanted water and sushi. I didn't want to talk to anybody. And all these guys came in, they were all tatted up, they all had these beards, and I was like, oh shit, I didn't escape it. Right? Because it was one of two things. They were either there with all the buses out front, or they were there with the SWAT and tactical conference. And so, of course, I get off the phone, I shut my computer, I'm eating. They're like, so where are you from? I don't want to talk. And anyway, we start talking, and I'm like, so are y'all here with the buses, or are you here for the tactical conference? They were like, what makes you think either? I was like, because we're in the middle of Little Rock, and y'all don't belong here. And it ended up being the Dave Matthews Band. It was a bunch of their like back end stage manager crew people and their camera guys. Two of them I still talk to.
Oh, cool.
And then in come Dave Matthews Band. And the next night I was at the concert.
Rock on.
VIP. And they were the most down to earth, nice people. It was awesome. So I became a Dave Matthews Band fan that
They're
day.
an incredible band.
Well, so yeah, they are. They're awesome. Carter Buford, the drummer, incredible drummer. I mean, there's nobody, at least in the last few years, in the mainstream that had more intricate technical drumming than Carter Buford.
Really?
So yeah, that's
well,
cool.
and then you take
it was
take
cool.
what Dave Matthews plays and sings at the same time. there's serious talent there. So yeah, great band. That's a cool story.
Yeah. So
I love his.
it's an eclectic view. It's an eclectic music array.
Oh, that was
I listen.
Well,
great.
so can
You answered
so can
brilliantly.
you see why this is the most important question of the show?
Of course, because you guys have your own band.
That and no, what I'm getting around to is the fun, just the fun human side of people like you and the other people that we have on that, shoot guns and make Navy SEALs feel bad about their workouts and such. So then we talk about music and laugh about it and have a good time.
I wouldn't be able to survive a Navy SEAL workout, I'm sure of that.
Well, I was thinking when you were talking about, doing the burpees on the sandbags and, having to do that, what was it, 90 seconds or something like that? I thought I couldn't do one of those. So
Yes, you could.
You know what's funny? I've brought this up before. I haven't done it in a long time, but and this may not be anything to you, Aimee, but I always tell people it's a little surprising is the 100 burpee challenge in 10 minutes. I know it's not a lot, but if you don't do burpees, 'cause you just do the math on, because especially you start redlining your heart, you start hitting your anaerobic threshold, and yeah, that's
where that pacing and endurance comes into play.
Yeah.
You better know how to pace yourself if you want to make it, because if you don't, it's not going to go well for you.
Yeah, I used to do that pretty often, and I know I couldn't do it right now because I haven't been, in all honesty, I haven't been doing a lot of anaerobic development. I've just been kind of dependent on my jiu-jitsu in that capacity. So I need to ramp up some of my anaerobic stuff.
Our director of sales and marketing, he did tactical games with us in Kansas, and he's a big guy, former Army guy, and just hadn't run with a vest or anything on and for forever. And we talked him into doing the tactical games with us, so he jumped in and did it. And on these burpee workouts, he was like, "I'm 6'4". I'm 265 pounds. I have to get back down, get back up multiple times." We were like, "You got this, you can do it." And he was redlining. He's like, "My heart rate when it got over," he's like, "My heart rate was at 183, the highest I've gotten during all this training is 171. But after the fact, that night at dinner, we were just like, "Bill, we are so freaking proud of you." And he was running to train for this, like training for the tactical games made him do that stuff that he hadn't done for forever. Right? He's like, "I used to do it. I just don't do it anymore. And I don't want to do it," but it made him do it. But it was funny because he had to do a whole bunch of burpees and he was like, "Oh God, I can't do this." And he did it. And he was so proud of himself. It was awesome. It was awesome.
That's a cool story. Burpees, people that are uninitiated to burpees, you can wreck yourself with some burpees.
Oh yeah.
And the Army, we call them thrusters, and it's slightly different. But man, you want to talk about, we would get smoked during basic training. And man, you just like, man, I just want to die.
It's that total body. Anything that's moving your total body, it's so good for you, right? But it's gonna get your heart rate up. You got all your muscles in your blood moving all at once.
Yeah, because of this discussion, my workout tomorrow, because I know we're getting long in the tooth. We'll start closing it out here, but like for an example, my normal workouts right now, I split cardio and functional strength, and my cardio is LSD right now. I'm doing typically an hour, and I do Joel Jamison's 2.0 road work. So I'll be 10 minutes on this implement, 10 minutes on the treadmill, jump rope, so on and so forth. But my strength workouts are, I'll do let's say it. I'll do pull-ups, and then I'll do a set of kettlebell swings or kettlebell snatches, and then I'll move to dips, and then I'll do deadlift. But all the while, I'm still mixing in some kettlebell kind of power movements. That's kind of what I'm doing right now. But it's been a while since I've done burpees. I think tomorrow I'm gonna do some. In your name, Aimee, and I might.
You're welcome. When you get mad, just be like, damn it, Aimee, shouldn't have had her on yesterday.
Cool. Well, Aimee, I think we've had you long enough, and we really appreciate you. I think this is gonna do well, and we're certainly gonna invite you back on if you'll come back.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Very much. Aaron, before I'm about to mess up here, if folks want to find you or find LTT, go ahead and tell them where they can find you guys. No problem. It's just that adds element.
They made it so long, and then they coming in at the end. So you can find us at www.langdontactical.com, or if you're interested in learning more about firearms, I'm on the educational side, or trying to convert somebody into adopting firearms. LTTDiscover.com is where all of our educational stuff lives. You can follow us on Instagram at Langdon Tactical, and then if you want my mom life mixed with humor and working out and tactical game stuff, I am Aimee_hike_lift_shoot.
Awesome. They can find you there. That's cool. Well, and to be honest, we wanted to talk about LTT Discover more, so that's why we're going to have you back on. The folks in the audience, you guys need to go check that out. It is awesome information, and it's free, correct?
Yep, it's all free.
Yeah, so you guys need to go out there and support Aimee and Langdon Tactical with that effort, because it is awesome information.
Thank you.
Well, goodbye from me, Aimee. Again, thank you from me. This has been a blast. So thanks for your time. And it's people like you that make our show great. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks guys. Report in tomorrow on your burpee workouts.
Let me know how
those go.
I'll let
All
you
right.
know.
Bye, guys.
Bye.